up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a 2020 Chevy Blazer 2LT front wheel drive that we're going to be reviewing. And as usual, we're going to be going over 5 different decision points that I think you guys are looking for when you're buying a new or used vehicle. Again, those points are going to be your price, your performance, your styling, your user friendliness, and then finally safety features. So as far as price goes, you start out at $28,800 and move up to almost $44,000 across 6 different models. So you got the L, which is your base model, then you have your 1LT, your 2LT, 3LT, RS, and Premier. So in terms of price, I went ahead and built what I thought most people would be building on these things, and it was one of the 3LTs. But we'll talk more about that build after we talk about performance because, well, frankly, it has to do a little bit with the performance of this vehicle. So the Blazer comes with 3 different engine options. It's the 2.5-liter 4-cylinder, the 2.0-liter 4-cylinder turbo, and then finally you have the 3.6-liter V6. Now, depending on the model, depends on which engine you can get. So for the L and the 1LT, the only engine option that you can get is that 2.5-liter 4-cylinder. If you move up to the 2LT or the 3LT models, then you get an option. You can either get the 2.0-liter 4-cylinder turbo or the 3.6-liter V6. And then on the RS and the Premier, the only option that you have is the 3.6-liter V6. Then also in lines of performance, each one of these models can be had in front-wheel drive, and if you move up to the 2LT, 3LT, RS, or Premier, you can also have them in all-wheel drive. But let's also talk about each engine's numbers. So with the 2.5-liter 4-cylinder, you get 193 horsepower, 188 foot-pounds of torque, and then you also get an EPA rating of 21 miles in the city and 27 on the highway. Then if you're getting the 2.0-liter 4-cylinder turbo, you're getting 230 horsepower and 258 foot-pounds of torque with an EPA rating of 21 and 28 for front-wheel drive and 21 and 27 for all-wheel drive. And then lastly, we have the 3.6-liter V6, which comes in at 308 horsepower, 270 foot-pounds of torque. And that has an EPA rating of 19 and 26 or 18 and 25 if you opt for the all-wheel drive. So since we're done talking about price and performance of this vehicle now, we'll talk about that model that I built that I think most people will choose as far as which model exactly, whether it's all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, the engine option, if you get one, and then finally, kind of what options or packages that most will choose. So I selected the 3LT. The biggest reason is the interior. You're moving up from cloth up to leather. And then on top of that, I wanted one of the 2LT or 3LT models because, again, you get that engine option. So whether or not you're looking for a little bit better EPA or more towing capacity, well, you get that option, which is nice. As we continue building, I went with the 3.6-liter V6 just because towing is nice to have if you ever need it. Quite honestly, that V6 doesn't really get that much worse EPA rating. Yeah, it's 2 to 3 miles per gallon less, but overall, it's better to have that versatility. And finally, selecting between all-wheel drive and front-wheel drive, I chose all-wheel drive. Mainly, again, because it gives you that versatility to be able to drive in different environments or harsher environments if you need to. And then also, again, like the EPA rating really didn't change much between front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. Again, versatility is key when it comes to vehicles. So what did our price come out to just without options? Choosing the 3LT, all-wheel drive, and then that 3.6-liter V6 was $41,345. Now let's go over the options that I think most people will be choosing. The first package that I chose was the Sound and Technology package, which adds an 8-speaker Bose audio system, which is a step up from the 6-speaker standard system that you get. It also comes with surround view, and then finally, one of the other notable features in that package is that your rear view mirror becomes a screen. And that's known as a rear camera mirror, just in case you were wondering. The next package that I chose was the interior protection package, which adds all-weather floor mats throughout the interior, including the cargo area. I then went on to choose the cargo package, which you may be thinking, shouldn't that come with that cargo floor mat? no. This comes with a netting for the front, and then also it comes with a retractable shade for the back. So if you're looking for privacy for stuff that you have in the back, definitely opt for that. The next thing that I chose were these wheels, but 20 inches instead of 18s, just because, well, they look a little nicer. And then the last two options that I chose was the powered pano sunroof, which, you know, everyone does now and everyone loves. And then finally, were universal powered tablet holders. So if you've got kids and stuff that you're always carrying around, those may be something that you want to look into. So after adding all those options in, the total price to the 3LT came out to $45,805. So now that we've talked about performance, the build that I would get, and since we do have the 3.6 liter V6, let's take a listen to it. So one thing this car does have is a rev limiter in it, so you can only rev it up to about 4,000 RPM, which is what it is. One thing I forgot to mention in terms of performance earlier was the fact that every single Blazer is mounted to a 9-speed automatic transmission. That's it. Let's keep moving along. Now that we're done talking about both price and performance, let's go ahead and talk about the styling on this vehicle. So as we come across the front over here, you can kind of see where the styling of this was influenced by the Camaro. And then as we come down and around, you can start seeing this wheel arch back over here where the tires are just a little too tucked in for my taste, but again, it gets the job done. It's not anything bad or crazy. All right, so you guys have seen this view quite a lot. I do enjoy this nice increase right here, but this line right here is starting to get a little overdone in the car world now. And then as we move a little bit closer in, you can kind of see that it does have this nice crease down the back to kind of give it that sporty look. Then as we move around back, you can kind of see that it starts to look a little more Camaro-y than before. But as we come down here, got these nice exhaust tips. And now that we've talked about styling, let's talk about the user-friendliness and practicality of the vehicle and move to the inside. Welcome inside. All right, so I'm going to show you guys around real quick, utilizing this one, just to show you kind of what it looks like on the interior. It's not bad. It's fairly nicely appointed. And you have a decent amount of space in the back, which we'll get to here shortly after we do our beloved Bluetooth setup. And as we move down over here, you've got your nice Camaro inspired vents moving down to pretty much nothing. All right, and as usual, we're gonna need some tunes. So this thing does have Apple and Android CarPlay standard, which is super nice. We want just straight Bluetooth because, you know, why not? So I'm going to show you the steps real quick, hopefully quick. All right, so as we come in on this screen, we got all this stuff. I have my phone plugged in right now, so we'll go ahead and unplug that so Apple CarPlay goes away. I'm gonna go ahead and click on settings. You got phones, and we want to add a phone. So from here, we're gonna come into our Bluetooth settings on our phone and choose my Chevrolet. There we go. Took a little bit. Okay, and pair it. And pair. All right, that was easy. Oh, what we got here? It's the song. Anyways, guys, super easy Bluetooth setup. kind of go over a couple of the other features that we have on the inside real quick as well. So let me turn this down. So down here is where all your climate control stuff is. Then you have a couple of USB ports right up here, which I like how they're in a vertical stack. It really kind of just goes in line with everything. I like that a lot. And you got your nice twisty dials that are flappies. Looks like a little butterfly or a bird in there. But anyways, those are pretty neat. And then you also have your drive modes. So if you get two-wheel drive, this is what you'll see. Basically economy or comfort mode, whatever you want to call it. Then you have your snow mode. And then finally, you have sport mode. What is weird about this is that usually they lock it out to where whatever your last selection was, or whatever your last selection is, that you can't go past it. But in here, it'll just go back and revert to the next one. So that's kind of strange. Not something that I really like, because, well, I mean, if you're like, oh shoot, am I in comfort and don't feel like taking your eyes off, you're going to keep pressing it, and then, well, you're not going to be in comfort mode anymore. So one of the changes that they made from 2020 models to 2021 is that if you get 2LT or lower, this is now just a urethane steering wheel instead of being leather wrapped. Again, I don't know why they did it. You would think that they would do the opposite, but that happened. So the key fob, super basic. Got your Chevy emblem there, your panic button, your lock, and your unlock. But the weird thing is as you can see, there's no like raised button letting you know which one is lock or unlock like most vehicles do. So I keep finding myself having to basically take it out of my pocket, take a look at it, and then press lock or unlock. All right, so we've got our Bluetooth set up. We listened to a little bit of the song in here. We'll listen to it more on the actual driving portion of the review. One other thing to note, I'm going to tilt you guys down just a little bit, is, and I'm going to turn all of this down, fan speed down. So the center console, I mean, it's leather wrapped, which is a nice touch, but it sounds like I'm dribbling a basketball if you just tap it. Can you guys hear that? He shoots and misses. Anyways, that's just like, I don't get it. Out of all the things, this is gonna be the one that you're gonna have rattle like this. But other than that, you got a decent amount of space in here. But yeah, it's just, I don't like it. All right, so since we've kind of talked about the majority of the stuff that's up front, I'm gonna move into the back seat, review that, and then finally we're getting into the trunk to see how much stuff that we can actually put in there. So I'll see you in the back seat. All right, so the back seat in the Chevy Blazer, pretty roomy. So we got the chair seated where I'm seated at while I'm driving, and I still have, you know, almost like 6 to 8 inches worth of room right here, which is fantastic, because if you would just want to relax, you can do that. And then also another cool thing about this is that you can actually recline the seat back here, and then really feel like you're in a luxury vehicle in your 3LT with your leather interior. But the one thing that's kind of strange, so you get well, oh God. All right, so be careful when you're doing that. I guess the easiest way is to lock your feet. Maybe not. I was gonna say lock your feet underneath the front seat, so you don't get your own climate control stuff back here. You do have 2 vents. Then you also get a USB-C port and a regular USB port back here as well, so you can plug in, you know, your electronics. And again, if you get those power tablet holders, they'll be roughly in this region right here, and also have their power sources directly in those. Other than that, there's not a whole lot more to talk about back here. Headrest, super thin, but then you also get a couple cup holders, which in my opinion, I think they should have extended this portion out just slightly, because it always just feels like it's just, my arm just freely wants to move off of this. That's it for the back seat. to the trunk. All right, so in terms of practicality in the trunk, there's a lot of space. You've got a couple little cubbies on the side, which I'm guessing one of these is probably going to be eliminated if you get that Bose system. But I mean, half my body can fit in here. You can see how tiny this bag looks in here right now. Then also underneath the cargo cover, you not only have a spare, but you also get all this extra room for more storage. Again, I don't know if that gets taken up when you get the optional Bose package or not. My head. Okay. So while you can fit in here, oh, this might be kind of comfy. What do you think? Anyway, so yeah, you can fit probably close to four large suitcases, 4 medium-sized suitcases back here with no problem, and still also have room for 5 passengers. And then also to note is that you have these 2 handles, one on either side, to actually fold down the seat, unlike the Stelvio. Though there's not a way to pull them back up, so you got to run around to the side of the vehicle and lift them back up. But that's it for the user friendliness and practicality of this vehicle. So let's get to driving it. All right, so time to drive this thing, see what it really can do. So again, if you don't remember at the beginning, this is the 3.6 liter V6, and it is front wheel drive. So one of the things that I like about it, as soon as I got in this vehicle, was the fact that the steering wheel had that little bit of heft that, like, I've kind of been insinuating that more cars need now, mainly because they just all feel way too light. Like if I were to just whip it around real quick, well, I'd do a 360, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, would be fun, but it is nice to have that heft and feel like you're in a little bit more control. So even though this car is basically brand new, bumps are not its forte. I figured with a newer vehicle, you know, even without air suspension, that the suspension would be tuned, especially since we're in the comfort mode right now, that it would do a lot better over bumps. It's not harsh until you go over like a speed bump, like grates and stuff like that, and it just rattles you. But again, like just on like the highway driving and like decent city driving, it's not all that bad. So cabin noise. One of the biggest things that kind of stands out to me is the cabin noise on this. It's a little overpowering from how much noise that you're getting from the outside. Again, this is a 2020 vehicle. I get that it's about mid-range in the line, but you would think that car manufacturers would have learned by now, like, how to make even a cheap vehicle be a little quieter on the inside. We're about to get onto the freeway now, I think, here in a second. So you do get a nice little bit of grunt from the V6 that's in here, which it's not a bad thing. So when this car is very loosely based on the Camaro in terms of styling, like, it's kind of something that you kind of expect is a little bit of that engine noise. Now, it is kind of sad that the SS Blazer, or Blazer SS, whatever you want to call it, is only a rumor right now. There we go. You guys can hear that a little bit. I think a Blazer SS is kind of meant to be. So you've got the Edge ST out, you've got the Explorer ST out, and a handful of other high performance vehicles, and it just, to me, just kind of makes sense that Chevy would offer an SS model in the Blazer. And again, that kind of goes back to the styling. The styling on this thing is pretty aggressive for what it is, especially if you're getting one of the smaller engines and that entry-level model. Now if you step up to the RS, yeah, you get a sportier interior, but even in the mid-range of the line, I can still get that same engine. So to me, again, like, it just makes sense that Chevy pushes for a Blazer SS. So again, like, the steering in this thing, just it feels nimble. I know where I'm heading as soon as I turn it, as I'm changing lanes. Like, I know exactly where I'm going to be. And that's pretty awesome that they're doing this in this vehicle. In terms of comfortability in this vehicle, it's okay. It's not bad. Like, the seats, they just feel a little too flat. Maybe that's because I'm used to really bolstered seats, so that may just be a bias on my part, but they're not, like, I don't know, like, the headrests are super firm, the seats are a little too squishy, and it honestly just feels like maybe they should have opted for a few better materials inside at least the front seats, to make it a little bit more enjoyable to drive. Now, I've driven this for, you know, a handful of miles, and, like, you know, I don't feel tired so far. My body doesn't, like, feel tired or anything from sitting in the seat, but I could definitely see that happening if you were on an extended drive, say, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 hours. It would do a toll on your body. So in terms of safety features, there's not a whole lot that's offered, and then really it's still limited until you get to the RS and Premier models. So basically, if from entry level up to 2LT, your main things that you're getting are really not even standard features anymore. It's just like, hey, the government's regulated that you guys have these, like airbags and a rear view camera. That's about the only safety features that you get until you move up to 3LT, and that just baffles me. That I don't get the logic behind it. I get the money savings, but even still, like, at this 2LT model, you know, you're looking between $35,000 to, you know, $40,000 depending on what options that you choose. And then again, so like the 3LT, it only adds in lane change alert with side blind zone alert, which to me, I don't know why they're not calling it blind spot monitoring or something else, you know, the usual names. And then you also get rear cross traffic alerts and then rear park assist. So you're getting your sensors as you're backing up, which again, I think should be a standard feature, especially if you already have a backup camera, because people are going to be relying on that and may not see something out of the corner that's, you know, kind of out of sight of the camera. And then also some rear cross traffic alert. I do think that that's a really good feature to have. Again, that's one of the reasons why I chose the 3LT, is because it added that availability to choose those options. So when you move up to the RS and Premier models, you also get the addition of availability to get adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, lane departure warning, the rear cross traffic alert, again, that comes on that 3LT, and then forward collision alert, and then also enhanced automatic emergency braking. So with all those things kind of coupled in, like, again, I don't know why safety features aren't added onto every single model. Like, Chevy's basically saying, hey, you've got to spend more to be safer. That's like saying, hey, you got to pay more to eat cleaner. So stereo options in this are pretty limited. Until you get to the 3LT, you're stuck with the standard 6-speaker system. And then after that, the only option that you get is the Bose 8-speaker system. And this one has the 6-speaker system because we are in a 2LT and not a 3LT or higher. But why not give it a little listen to the old test song, wouldn't you say? So let's test these things out. Let's see what they sound like. See if it hits all the lows in this test song, how crisp the highs are, and just see the balance in between the two. So there's a little bit of door rattling from the bass in this. So right away, like you can tell that like the build quality isn't super great if you're going to turn your stereo up all the way. And then also you get a decent amount of distortion in the last like 15% of the volume. Kind of one of those things just to kind of keep in mind, like you're not going to want to turn this thing all the way up, or else you're potentially going to blow one of your speakers. So the highs are pretty crisp. It did hit all the low notes. Again, that's what we want. But there's not much adjustment in terms of the audio settings in here, so everything's just kind of like muddled together. So it doesn't sound that great. It's not the best of quality, but you can get it decently loud if all you're going for is just listening to music. So we're off of the highway now. Everything's a little calmer, but there's still a decent amount of road noise, which again, it's fine. It is kind of what it is at that point. So I mean, even at 25 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, like there's a decent amount of road noise that you're getting, which isn't really something that I expected on a newly paved road and a brand new car. So one thing to keep in mind. Off-roading is not this vehicle's forte. Wow, I feel like I just like got shaken for like 13 days. That was not good. Now that we're in the inside, I can kind of give one little gripe about options that I wasn't able to choose besides safety features on this vehicle. As a 3LT, you can't even get wireless phone charging. You have to move up to the RS level for that. Why is everything not available for every single model? I don't get it. I get cost cutting and stuff, but like it's an option. Maybe it's different wiring harnesses. Again, don't know. But if you do, leave that in the comment section below. It just it baffles my mind. So before we close out, I just want to go over some of the big changes from 2020 models to 2021 models. New colors were added, old colors were deleted, 4 were added, 3 were deleted. Not that big of a deal. They're just colors. Hopefully didn't really love the ones that were deleted. And then one of the things that we covered already was until we get to the 3LT, you're gonna get a urethane steering wheel as opposed to a leather steering wheel. So again, like that, I don't get the reasoning behind that. Why would you degrade your surface materials over time instead of improve upon them? Just kind of weird. What was that? My phone. So some of those safety features that you can't get are now included from the 2LT and up. Those are going to be automatic emergency braking, front pedestrian braking, lane keep assist with lane departure warning, follow distance indicator, IntelliBeam headlights, and then forward collision alert. So even though they've taken away some things, colors, and you know, the leather wrapped steering wheel, it's nice that they've added those safety features in, because quite honestly, you know, it's kind of one of those things, like, you know, you always want to be progressing and not regressing, and I see them regressing on this next part. So in 2020, all all-wheel drive models were offered with a twin clutch 9-speed transmission. In 2021, the only one that's supposed to be getting that twin clutch transmission is the RS model, because it's the sporty model. So that's kind of a strange thing to me. Like, again, like maybe maybe they saw that they could remove that, add those safety features in, and keep that price point at that same price that they're offering it in 2020. So just kind of my take on that. All right, so what do I think of the Chevy Blazer 2LT front-wheel drive with a 3.6-liter V6? It's kind of a fun little peppy car, but for the price of it, if you're not optioning out, yeah, it's a fun little peppy ride that can be had for a relatively cheap price. But when you start adding in options and like moving through the models with the same engine and maybe getting all-wheel drive, you're starting to get up there in the price range with actual luxury vehicle. But in terms of performance, yeah, it's a fun little peppy ride. With 300 horsepower getting sent to only the front wheels, like you can expect some fun little bit of wheel spin, and just feeling like a kid driving your first front wheel drive car. So overall, yeah, my lasting impression is that this thing is pretty fun to drive. The styling on this thing, yeah, if they ever come out with an SS model, it will definitely be a sleeper. I know it's going to give more aggressive fenders and more aggressive grille and probably a rear diffuser, but the overall look, the side profile of this vehicle, I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. And again, it's going to be kind of a sleeper SUV, and that's what I love. So as far as user friendliness and practicality go, I think that they hit the majority of the marks that people are looking for on the interior of their vehicles now. But the exterior is definitely missing having a power tailgate or even a button on the inside to pop it open. I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing to not do for an SUV nowadays. And then finally, we've got safety features. I've griped about it enough, but I think that safety features should be standard on vehicles throughout the lineup. Luckily, they changed that in 2021 models, so can't really complain about it anymore. So overall, the 2020 Chevy Blazer 2LT front-wheel drive with a 3.6-liter V6 is a pretty fun car, right? But overall, this car is not bad. It's got some nice aggressive styling to it, which I like. But the rest of the vehicle kind of flows in with, the rest of the traffic that you see on the road today. And while the driving characteristics of the V6 that's in here doesn't fully match the characteristics of the styling that Chevrolet chose for this vehicle, it was still a fun drive, going from point A to point B every single time. That's it for my review on the 2020 Chevy Blazer 2LT front-wheel drive 3.6-liter V6. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Okay, bye.